Falling in love is completely terrifying, but it is infinitely worse when the person you love is strictly off limits. For the past 3 years, I have been harboring a massive, desperate, and entirely secret crush on Zane. He wasn't just any boy at our high school. He was incredibly handsome, highly intimidating, and worst of all, he was my absolute best friend's older brother. To everyone else, I was just the quiet, sweet blonde girl who practically lived at his house, studying on their living room floor. I was absolutely convinced that Zane only saw me as an annoying little sister. But everything changed on the night of the senior bonfire party. My date completely abandoned me, leaving me stranded in the cold. Out of nowhere, Zane's classic car pulled up. He was absolutely furious that someone had left me behind. He ordered me to get in, his jaw clenched tight with intense, terrifying protectiveness. The drive back to his house was incredibly silent, but the air inside the car was suffocatingly thick with romantic tension. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I caught his piercing, dark eyes staring at me with a completely unguarded, desperate intensity. From that night on, the strict boundaries we had built completely shattered. Zane started finding incredibly subtle, secret ways to be near me. When we watched movies on the couch with his sister, he would casually rest his arm behind me, his fingers gently brushing the back of my neck, sending wild butterflies straight to my heart. He completely destroyed my dates with other boys just by showing up and glaring at them until they walked away in sheer terror. I was incredibly confused, completely terrified that I was just imagining his affection. The undeniable, breathtaking climax happened on the night of my senior prom. I went with a completely random guy just to make Zane jealous, but my heart was completely broken when Zane didn't show up to see me off. I was standing alone near the dance floor, feeling utterly miserable, when the heavy gym doors suddenly swung open. Zane walked straight into the crowded room, looking impossibly handsome in a sharp, dark suit. He completely ignored the teachers, the music, and the staring crowd. He walked directly up to me, his eyes locked entirely on mine, and gently took my hand. He leaned down, his voice incredibly rough and breathless, and finally confessed that he had been in love with me since the very first day I walked into his house. Before I could even process his words, he pulled me tightly against his chest, dipping me backward into a breathtaking, passionate kiss. He proved that sometimes, the most perfect love is the one you were always told was forbidden. If you absolutely love the brother's best friend trope, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, have you ever secretly fallen in love with someone who was strictly off limits?
At the prestigious Oak Ridge Academy, I was known exclusively as the Ice Queen. As the flawless student council president, I was completely obsessed with rules, perfect grades, and maintaining absolute control over my environment. I built a massive fortress around my heart, convinced that emotions were nothing more than a dangerous distraction from success. I never smiled, I never engaged in idle gossip, and I definitely never let anyone get close enough to see the real me. But everything I had carefully built was threatened on the first day of the spring semester when Leo transferred into my class. He was undeniably handsome, radiating this incredibly relaxed, effortless energy that drove me absolutely crazy. He never wore his uniform tie, his dark hair was perpetually messy, and worst of all, he completely ignored my strict authority. I was determined to discipline him, to prove to the entire student body that my rules applied to everyone without exception. So, I cornered him in the empty library after school, fully prepared to give him a severe, unforgiving warning. But instead of backing down, apologizing, or looking intimidated, Leo just took a slow step closer. He looked right into my eyes with this gentle, teasing smile, reached out his hand, and slowly fixed the crooked red ribbon on my uniform collar. For the first time in my entire life, my heart completely stopped beating. I could feel my cheeks burning a bright, embarrassing red, and my highly intelligent mind went entirely blank. I couldn't say a single word. From that exact moment, my entire rigid world shifted. He didn't just walk away. He started gently and persistently inserting himself into my life. He sat directly across from me in the quiet cafeteria, completely ignoring my glares and offering me sweet candy with that warm smile. He waited for me in the pouring rain, deliberately letting his own shoulder get thoroughly soaked just to share his clear umbrella with me. And during my exhausting, stressful late-night study sessions, he would suddenly appear at the council door with 2 steaming cups of coffee, staying quietly with me until the work was done. The entire school watched in absolute shock as the unapproachable Ice Queen slowly melted for the boy who fundamentally refused to follow the rules. The climax of it all happened at the spring dance. When he bowed in his formal suit and asked me to dance, the whole room went completely silent. And later, on the starlit school rooftop, when he gently tucked a loose strand of blonde hair behind my ear and leaned in for our very first kiss, I finally realized the truth. He didn't just break down my walls. He showed me how beautiful it is to actually live, to feel, and to love. If you absolutely love seeing the cold, untouchable girl fall first and fall hardest, hit that subscribe button right now and let me know in the comments below. Have you ever had a crush that completely destroyed your walls and changed your entire personality? I never intended to lie to the entire school, but panic makes you do crazy things. It happened at the biggest back-to-school party of the year. I was standing near the pool, completely minding my own business, when my toxic ex-boyfriend walked through the door. And of course, he wasn't alone. He was tightly holding hands with my former best friend. My heart completely dropped, and I felt utterly humiliated. I needed a distraction, and I needed it immediately. That is exactly when Asher walked past me. Asher was the school's notorious playboy, known for his dangerous charm and his endless list of broken hearts. Without even thinking, I grabbed his jacket, pulled him toward me, and kissed him right in front of everyone. I expected him to push me away in shock. Instead, his arms wrapped securely around my waist, and he kissed me back like his life depended on it. When we finally pulled away, my ex was staring at us in absolute furious disbelief. Asher just smirked, leaned into my ear, and whispered that if I wanted to make my ex truly jealous, we needed to make it look real. That night, we officially signed a fake dating pact. The rules were incredibly simple. We would hold hands in the hallways, go on very public dates, and absolutely no one could catch real feelings. For the first 2 weeks, it worked perfectly. My ex was losing his mind with jealousy, and Asher was the perfect fake boyfriend. He opened doors for me, brought me my favorite coffee, and always knew exactly how to make me laugh. But somewhere along the line, the boundaries began to blur. His fake compliments started sounding incredibly genuine. When he held my hand, his thumb would gently trace my skin, sending wild butterflies through my stomach. The breaking point happened at the annual autumn carnival. We were supposed to just take some cute photos to post online, but he won me a massive stuffed bear and pulled me to the top of the glowing Ferris wheel. High above the city lights, the playful smirk completely vanished from his handsome face. He looked deep into my eyes, his voice incredibly soft, and confessed that he didn't want to fake it anymore. He didn't just want to be a distraction. He wanted to be my real boyfriend. When he leaned in and kissed me this time, there was no audience, and there was no acting. It was just real, breathtaking love. If you absolutely love the fake dating trope, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, would you ever dare to fake a relationship to make your ex jealous? At Silverwood High, Leo and I were legendary enemies. We weren't just competing for the title of valedictorian. We were locked in a constant bitter war to absolutely destroy each other in every single subject. He was effortlessly brilliant, impossibly handsome, and possessed this incredibly arrogant smirk that made me want to scream. I hated him with a burning passion, and I made sure he knew it every single day. But our academic war took a massive, unexpected turn during the spring semester.
Got it, Mila.
To secure extra credit for our final grades, we were both forced to audition for the school's grand theatrical production of Romeo and Juliet. In a twisted stroke of fate, the drama teacher cast us as the star-crossed lovers. Suddenly, my worst enemy was the exact person I had to stare at romantically every single afternoon. During the first few weeks of rehearsal, it was an absolute nightmare. We bickered constantly, sabotaged each other's lines, and refused to break our bitter rivalry. But the stage has a strange way of tearing down walls. During a highly emotional scene in the empty, dimly lit auditorium, Leo forgot his arrogant persona. He looked deeply into my eyes, delivering his romantic monologue with such intense, raw emotion that I completely forgot we were acting. My heart started racing. My cheeks burned a furious red, and for the first time, I realized my hatred was just a desperate cover for how much I was actually attracted to him. Our fierce rivalry slowly transformed into undeniable, breathless backstage tension. The undeniable climax happened on the official opening night. The auditorium was completely packed with hundreds of students and parents. We were in the middle of the final tragic scene, completely immersed in the intense emotion of the play. According to the strict script, we were supposed to share a brief, highly choreographed stage kiss. But when Leo gently pulled me into his arms under the bright, warm stage lights, everything changed. He completely abandoned the script. In front of the massive, silent audience, my arrogant rival kissed me with such breathtaking, desperate, unscripted passion that the entire theater erupted into deafening applause. He proved that sometimes your worst enemy is the only person who can truly steal your heart. If you absolutely love the enemies to lovers romance trope, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, have you ever secretly fallen in love with someone you thought you hated?
I spent 3 entire days perfecting my romantic confession. I carefully baked a box of flawless, pink, frosted strawberry cupcakes, and I wrote a deeply emotional love letter on bright pink stationery. It was supposed to be a secret gift for Liam, the sweet, quiet boy who sat next to me in art class. But in a moment of pure, panicked clumsiness, I completely misread the locker numbers. I accidentally slipped the bright pink box into locker number 17 instead of locker number 70. It didn't go to Liam. It went to Julian, the notoriously arrogant, deeply intimidating, and incredibly handsome captain of the elite fencing team. Julian was terrifying. He hated sweet things, and he was known for brutally rejecting girls in front of the entire school. When I realized my massive mistake, my heart completely stopped. I hid behind a corner, watching in pure horror as Julian opened his locker, found the pink box, and read my deeply personal letter. I fully expected him to throw it in the trash and mock me. Instead, his sharp gray eyes scanned the pink paper, and a very slow, highly uncharacteristic smirk spread across his handsome face. The very next morning, my quiet, peaceful life was completely hijacked. Julian suddenly appeared at my desk, loudly dropping the empty pink bake box right in front of me. The entire classroom went dead silent. He leaned down, his face inches from mine, and arrogant told me that the cupcakes were acceptable, and he expected a fresh box every single morning before homeroom. I was absolutely paralyzed with fear, so I agreed. For the next 3 weeks, I became the terrifying captain's personal baker. But the more time we spent together, the more his cold, intimidating mask began to slip. He started waiting for me outside my bakery, carrying my heavy bags of flour and defending me from anyone who dared to look at me wrong. The boy who supposedly hated sweet things was suddenly addicted to strawberry frosting, and to my complete surprise, I was becoming hopelessly addicted to him. He was incredibly protective, surprisingly gentle, and he looked at me with an intensity that made my cheeks burn a furious pink. The breathtaking climax happened at the annual spring festival. We were standing entirely alone under a massive canopy of blooming pink cherry blossoms. Julian handed me a bright pink envelope, matching the exact one I had mistakenly given him. Inside, there was a handwritten note confessing that he knew the cupcakes weren't meant for him, but he was incredibly selfish, and he refused to let any other boy have my heart. Before I could even breathe, he pulled me deeply into his arms, kissing me passionately as thousands of pink petals rained down around us. He proved that sometimes the biggest mistake of your life is actually your greatest destiny. If you absolutely love accidental romance stories, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, what is the most embarrassing mistake you have ever made for a crush? At Oak Ridge Elite Academy, I was just Maya. I was the invisible scholarship girl who sat in the very back of the classroom, completely ignored by the wealthy, popular students. But my life hid a massive, deeply humiliating secret. To pay for my family's overwhelming medical debts, I worked every single evening as a private maid for the wealthiest family in the entire city. I thought my two completely different worlds would never, ever collide. But everything shattered into pieces on a rainy Friday night. The billionaire family's arrogant, impossibly handsome son returned home from his European trip a day early. It was Julian. He was the most popular, untouchable boy at my academy, and the absolute last person on earth I ever wanted to see me in a French maid uniform. I was dusting the grand library when he suddenly walked through the double doors. I froze in absolute paralyzing terror. I completely dropped my feather duster onto the expensive rug, my heart hammering violently in my chest. He looked at me, his icy gray eyes scanning my face, slowly recognizing the invisible girl from his history class. I fully expected him to expose me, to laugh cruelly, and to completely ruin my life at school. Instead, the arrogant smirk entirely vanished from his handsome face. He locked the heavy library doors, walked slowly toward me, and made a highly unexpected secret deal. He promised to keep my identity entirely hidden from the school, but only if I agreed to be his personal study tutor inside the mansion. Suddenly, my absolute worst nightmare turned into an intoxicating, breathless secret. At school, we completely ignored each other in the busy, crowded hallways. But every single night, inside his massive luxury mansion, the strict boundaries between us began to completely blur. We spent hours studying alone in his grand bedroom. I quickly realized Julian wasn't just a spoiled billionaire. He was incredibly brilliant, deeply lonely, and overwhelmingly protective of me. He even started helping me with my heavy chores, completely ruining his expensive designer clothes just to wash dishes beside me in the kitchen. The undeniable climax of our secret happened during a massive thunderstorm. The mansion's power completely failed, plunging the entire estate into total, terrifying darkness. I was terrified, trembling alone in the grand hallway. Julian found me, completely ignoring the massive storm outside. He wrapped his strong arms around my waist, pulled me tightly against his chest, and softly confessed that he didn't care about money, status, or what the snobby school thought. In the dark, silent mansion, he kissed me with such breathtaking, desperate passion that my entire world stopped spinning. He proved that sometimes the most beautiful love stories happen behind completely closed doors. If you absolutely love the secret romance trope, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, would you ever dare to date someone from a completely different world?
At Cresthaven High, I was known as the only girl who was completely, utterly immune to Caleb. Caleb was the school's ultimate heartbreaker, an impossibly handsome star athlete with a massive ego and a long, messy trail of broken hearts behind him. Every single girl in our senior class swooned over his charming smile, but I completely ignored him, preferring the quiet, peaceful company of my classic novels. My absolute lack of interest drove his massive ego entirely crazy. So, to prove a point to his arrogant friends, he made a cruel, highly publicized bet. He bet them that he could make the unbothered bookworm completely fall in love with him before the winter formal. Suddenly, the school's most popular boy was absolutely everywhere I went. He sat next to me in the library, bought my favorite iced coffee, and even started reading the dense classic literature I loved, just so we could talk about it. I was incredibly stubborn, but slowly my high walls started to crumble. Behind his arrogant playboy mask, Caleb was actually surprisingly sweet, highly intelligent, and deeply attentive. I caught myself blushing furiously when he looked at me, and those fake library study sessions turned into genuine, breathless moments of romantic tension. The cruel bet was working perfectly, but something went terribly wrong for him. The arrogant heartbreaker accidentally fell deeply, desperately in love with his target. I was finally ready to say yes to the dance until his jealous friends cornered me in the hallway and maliciously played a secret audio recording of him making that horrible bet. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I slapped him right across his handsome face in front of the entire school, crying tears of pure betrayal, and ran away.
Who could that be?
I thought I would absolutely never speak to him again.
What are you doing here?
But that night, as a massive thunderstorm rolled over the city, I heard a loud knock on my window. I looked out and saw Caleb standing in the freezing, pouring rain. He was completely soaked, refusing to leave until I listened. He looked up at me with absolute, crushing desperation in his eyes, begging for forgiveness, promising that the bet was a stupid mistake and his love for me was the most real thing he had ever felt. When I ran downstairs and opened the front door, he didn't say another word. He just pulled me into the rain and kissed me with such passionate, desperate intensity that the entire world faded away. If you absolutely love the he falls first romance trope, hit that subscribe button right now and tell me in the comments, would you ever forgive a boy who made a bet on your heart? For 3 years of high school, I successfully perfected the fine art of being completely invisible. While the other girls obsessed over popularity, parties, and the latest gossip, my entire world was confined to the quiet, dusty corners of the school's forgotten art studio. I hid my face behind oversized wire-rimmed glasses, buried my figure in baggy, paint-splattered sweaters, and spent my afternoons blending into the background. I was perfectly content being a ghost. But my peaceful, isolated existence was permanently shattered on a rainy Tuesday when Liam, the star quarterback and the most popular boy in school, desperately crashed into my art room to hide from a mob of screaming fans. I expected him to be exactly like the rumors, arrogant, loud, and totally self-absorbed. Instead, he collapsed onto the old sofa, let out a massive sigh of relief, and gave me the most genuine, exhausted smile I had ever seen. He needed a quiet place to escape the crushing pressure of everyone's expectations, and in exchange for my silence, he offered to sit completely still and be the model for my final painting project. That was the beginning of our secret world. Away from the cheering crowds and the demanding coaches, Liam was incredibly gentle, attentive, and surprisingly funny. We spent hours in that sunlit studio. He would listen to my favorite indie music, carefully wash my paintbrushes, and stare at me with this intense, unwavering focus that made my heart race uncontrollably. He made me feel seen in a way I had never experienced before. But secrets in a high school can never last forever. The climax arrived on the night of the annual spring art exhibition. I finally decided to step out of my shell. I took off my glasses, let my blonde hair cascade down my shoulders, and wore a stunning, form-fitting dress that made the entire room gasp when I walked in. But the only reaction I cared about was Liam's. He dropped his drink, his eyes widening in absolute awe, and walked straight through his group of popular friends just to tell me I was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. The very next day was the championship football game. When the final whistle blew and his team won, Liam didn't celebrate with the cheerleaders or his teammates. In front of the entire cheering stadium, he took off his helmet, ran directly up the bleachers to where I was standing, and pulled me into the most breathtaking, passionate kiss of my life. He proved to the whole world that the invisible art girl was the only one he truly saw. If you love stories where the quiet girl gets the popular guy, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, what is your absolute favorite high school romance trope? By day, I was Sasha, the completely invisible girl who managed the tangled wires and dusty microphones in the basement audio-visual club at Crestman High. But when the clock struck midnight, I locked the heavy soundproof doors, put on my professional headphones, and transformed into someone else entirely. I was the Midnight Voice, the anonymous, highly opinionated host of the school's most popular underground podcast. I gave brutal advice, played indie records, and kept my identity an absolute secret. I thought my two worlds would never collide until the school's untouchable golden boy Julian called into my live show. Julian was the captain of the swim team, rich, handsome, and surrounded by a massive crowd of adoring fans. In the school hallways, we were practically enemies. We were forced to be lab partners in chemistry, and we constantly bickered because I thought he was just another arrogant jock. But on the radio, he was caller number 7. Every single Tuesday night, he would call my anonymous hotline, his voice trembling slightly, to confess his deepest anxieties, his fear of failure, and the crushing pressure of being absolutely perfect. He didn't know he was pouring his heart out to the quiet girl he annoyed in chemistry, and I didn't realize the school's most popular boy was actually incredibly sweet, deeply poetic, and completely broken. We built this intense, beautiful emotional connection through the glowing radio waves. I found myself rushing to the studio just to hear his voice, and in real life, my harsh glares in chemistry began softening into genuine, blushing smiles. But secrets are incredibly fragile. One afternoon, Julian forgot his chemistry notes and followed me down into the restricted basement of the AV club. I was in the middle of a live broadcast, completely unaware that the heavy soundproof door wasn't locked. I was speaking directly into the microphone, using my signature radio sign-off, when I saw him standing in the doorway. His jaw dropped. He looked at the vintage microphone, then at my face, and the realization hit him like a physical shockwave. He had finally found his midnight voice. I froze in absolute terror, expecting him to laugh, to expose my secret to the entire school, or to walk away disgusted. Instead, he slowly walked into the dark, neon-lit booth, completely ignoring the glowing red on-air sign. He gently took the heavy headphones off my ears, leaned down to the microphone, and whispered to the entire school that the anonymous girl on the radio was the only girl he had ever loved. Then, in front of the entire live audience listening through their phones, he pulled me in and kissed me. It was the most breathtaking, passionate collision of my two worlds. He proved that sometimes the person you are hiding from is the only one truly listening. If you love secret identity romance stories, hit that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, what is a secret you've never told anyone at your school? Getting a full academic scholarship to the prestigious St. Jude's Academy was supposed to be the greatest achievement of my life. I thought it was my golden ticket to a better future. But I quickly realized that this school wasn't a place for learning. It was a ruthless playground for the children of billionaires, and Tristan was their undisputed king. Tristan was impossibly handsome, terrifyingly wealthy, and entirely used to having the entire world bow at his custom-tailored feet. From my very first day, he made it absolutely clear that people like me didn't belong in his elite world. He and his rich friends would mock my faded uniform, completely ignore my presence, and try everything in their power to intimidate me into transferring out. Everyone else at the academy was terrified of him. But I had fought far too hard to get here, and I refused to let some spoiled, arrogant heir ruin my future. So, when he intentionally blocked my path in the main hallway and ordered me to step aside, I didn't lower my head. I looked right into his piercing, icy gray eyes, stood my ground, and firmly told him no. The entire hallway went dead silent. Nobody had ever defied him before. I expected him to completely destroy my high school life right then and there. Instead, a strange, undeniable shift happened. His cold glare slowly melted into a look of absolute, captivating obsession. From that moment on, his cruel bullying entirely stopped, replaced by a suffocating, intense attention. He started watching me constantly from across the courtyard. When the elite mean girls tried to ruin my project in the library, Tristan stepped out of the shadows, delivering a terrifying, silent warning glare that made them run away in fear. He became my incredibly dangerous, unspoken protector. The undeniable climax of our complicated relationship happened at the annual Winter Masquerade Ball. I wasn't going to attend, but a mysterious package arrived at my dorm containing the most breathtaking deep blue gown I had ever seen. When I walked down the grand marble staircase of the ballroom, the entire elite crowd gasped in sheer shock. I wasn't just the invisible scholarship girl anymore. Tristan abandoned his wealthy date without a single word. He walked straight through the crowd of judgmental elites, his eyes locked entirely on me with pure, unadulterated awe. In front of the entire academy, the untouchable billionaire heir took my hand, pulled me onto the